Welcome to this week's edition of Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned. Today, we're sitting down with an absolute powerhouse, Staci Millard. She's not only a seven-figure entrepreneur and mom of two, but also the CEO of Thrive Accounting, where she's helped thousands of small business owners unlock their next level by understanding one of the most avoided and misunderstood areas of business, their numbers. But here's the thing. Stacy doesn't just talk spreadsheets and P&Ls. She's fiercely committed to building heart-led impact, living a great life because of your business, not in spite of it, and showing other leaders how financial clarity can become your most powerful growth strategy. If you've ever felt like money conversations make you shrink, avoid, or freeze, this episode is your invitation to expand. Stacy is here to help us reframe numbers as a tool for confidence, alignment, and liberation. So let's dive in with Stacy. Welcome, Stacy. I feel like this episode is long overdue. Had the great pleasure of meeting you, being introduced to you through Powerhouse Women, and I'm so excited to have you here today. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks, Lori. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. We're talking numbers and finances, and also just how to thrive as women in business, I think. So, you call yourself a multi passionate entrepreneur. What lights you up most about the journey that you're on today?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many things, but I think the one that really stands out is how individual business really is, like how it really can be tailored to exactly how you want to do it, what your motivators are, what your values are, how you want to do life, who you get to work with, and how you have like impact in the world. That
Mhm.
is what kind of lights me up about business right now.
That's so beautiful. Did you always know that? Was that something like intuitively designed in you, or have you learned it along the way in your own experience?
I grew up with, like, 2 parents who worked for two one worked government and one worked big corp, and
Mm.
they I felt, this, like, reflection on how they worked and who they worked for and, like, the lack of agency that they had over their time and their, efforts and even just, like, being witnessed in their work, and I always asked a lot of questions about it, like, "Why would you do that? Why would you do that?" But I did take the safe road. I was like, "I'm gonna be an accountant. Everybody needs an accountant." I love the numbers and the patterns, but I was like had a couple options, and I chose accounting, and I went to work for somebody else. Like, it wasn't entrepreneurship was never on my radar until I had, the classic breaking point. Everybody has a breaking point when they're like, "That's it. I'm quitting corporate, and I'm gonna do this for myself." And for me, it was about a value misalignment that I couldn't live my values every day. Like for me, I really value communication, like almost over communicating and really I'm a helper. Like I don't know if you know anything about human design, but like it's like in everything. Anybody could read anything, like whatever, and tell me like, oh, you're a helper. And it's
Mm.
so core in who I am. And I didn't feel like I could do that um in other people's businesses. So I was like, I want to do that in mine and finally just got fed up with, like, that values misalignment. I was like, "I'm gonna do it my way."
Mm.
And then it's just been a wild ride ever since.
I can only imagine. So, Thrive Accounting then, saying it's a wild ride, talking about the misalignment. I actually, work quite often with professional services, accounting firms, and looking at the way that you've designed your business, Thrive Accounting, it's not a typical accounting firm. And so, share with us, share with the audience what makes it different. And really, I'm hearing one thing already, which is that values misalignment. But what else inspired you to build it the way that you've built it?
Yeah, so, just to give you a little bit of a background, like, I was a CPA and I did grow a CPA practice and I exited, and that exit came on me reflecting on how that business had been built, and it was like every other accounting practice or CPA accounting practice, and I was like, there were so many things that didn't align, and when I looked at it, I was like, "Man, I'm gonna have to burn this down," but somebody wants this how it is, and, the clients are happy and they need more help, and there's a bunch of things. But I was like, the best option here is that I exit. And then I had a couple year break, just because when you have an exit, you're like, I don't know, you go through this weird period of kind of losing your identity, and you're
Mhm.
like, I sold this thing that was me. And
Mhm.
I went into hiding a little bit. I was doing some consulting, and it's like the business found me again.
Mhm.
It over and over again, people were asking for an accountant. When I was doing the consulting, we didn't have good numbers to base this off of. And I'm like,
Mhm.
but I've got this great model. Like, why is nobody doing this? Why is nobody helping people this way? They're craving it so badly. There's this hole in the market. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, this is it. So for us, there's a few things that are really important. Accountants are often brought up as like auditors. They're very much looking at a business from the outside in. Like, did you do this right or wrong? I don't know about you, but like, I don't want to be judged every day. I want people to have
Yeah.
compassion for me and how I work, and why I've made decisions. So I wanted to take that different approach. I also wanted to actually be helpful. Like, I hear the complaints about accountants like, well, they file my taxes at the end of the year, but like, shouldn't they do more for me? Literally, I've had two calls today already that people said exactly that. Like,
Mhm.
shouldn't they be doing more for me? Like, I'm not quite sure. And so to me, like, what other business could you not be sure if you're providing somebody value? It's like, well,
Mhm.
by default, accountants can get away with it because you have to file your taxes. But I'm
Right.
like, that's not fair to a consumer. Any other industry, people just wouldn't buy from you.
Mhm.
So we value things like communication. We want to be valuable. We're looking at like, how do we keep our fees in line with something? And how do we change the systems that we do so that you actually get some sort of value from it, right? You don't want to be spending all your money on bookkeeping and tax filing. Like, you want to spend your money on growing your business. So we look towards things like technology and AI, and how can we use these to streamline what we do, and then we drop our fees when our effort decreases, because anybody can do that. We're not just like, ooh, more profit in our bottom line. I think
Mhm.
I think of us as a community when we all thrive together. So we can drop our fees a bit, but then we can bring in more consulting pieces where we're giving a lot more advice. Like, how do we help you grow this business? What areas are you missing? What should you be paying attention to?
Mhm.
And so we're bringing it all together, the bookkeeping, the tax planning, and then really that advice that everybody literally said, like, why isn't this accountant giving me more about growing my business?
Mhm.
And we're always looking at like, what's the easiest system, recognizing that every business is very unique. Like, the owner running it, you and the person next to you may not do it the same, right? So how do we recognize the individual running the business while we're giving advice? And so those are some of the things that we've like really brought in when growing Thrive specifically, that we're doing differently than before.
It's so unique, everything that you're saying, Stacy, because same, I have heard myself, I can hear my voice every year
Yeah.
saying the same thing, and I think especially entrepreneurs, even what I do with entrepreneurs, like, I was a corporate leader, I was in business, so I have that side where so many people don't have. They don't have any of the financial courses
Mhm.
or aptitude towards it. It's not why they started their business, but they need really sound advice, and I love everything that you said is, like, built off that word thrive. I could just see the word growing as you were describing about your business. So you believe really that money, impact, and lifestyle are all non negotiables. And I believe one of the things from the seat where you sit that makes you so powerful with what you do is you also understand what entrepreneurs are trying to create, which is that impact, money, and lifestyle all together. So, why do you think, and you've had so much experience in this, so many entrepreneurs sacrifice one for the other? And
Yeah.
how do we stop that cycle?
I think it's because they don't know another way.
Mm.
So they look at like, okay, well, it maybe is like just beyond their grasp, where they're like, I have no idea how I would do this if. So for example, something different motivates everybody, right? So if they're like, money is maybe, if they were looking at placing everything in their order of how important money maybe is safety. So they're like, money's my number one, but like how much time I get with my family might be number two.
Mhm.
And so much respect for people who put that in order. But then if you say to them, well, you can have it all, they're like, I have no idea how.
Right.
So then they're going to default to what is number one. There's other people who, for example, like maybe their spouse has the financial security taken over. So they're like, my family time is number one, but they'd actually like to earn more. They'll
Mm.
just default to that just because they can't see it the other way. And it's almost like when you have one puzzle piece, that one piece, it's like, okay, that's easy enough. But now you need to stack another piece on it. It creates complexity. And it's like,
Mm.
we've not seen it done before. We've never had anybody explain to us how to get there or how all these pieces work together. And then when they do put it together, you're like, holy smokes, like, how am I supposed to do that in a day? Right? Like entrepreneurs, small business owners were like, what? Like,
Yeah.
all the jokes about like I clean the toilets and I do the marketing, I'm the accountant and I'm also like, cutting hair. And it's like so then it becomes complex. So then they're like, yeah, I don't know. And they don't know where to learn. They think it's going to take a long time to learn it, time that they don't have. So they're just like, I'm just going to default to this. And like
Mhm.
so much respect for that, but that's just what happens.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I was thinking I'm laughing because I was thinking in corporate, we used to always talk about the wearing too many hats. I'm like, "Oh, we don't even know what that means until you get into entrepreneurship." It's like not too many hats, every hat at certain stages in your business, right? And that is part of the growth curve too. At when you start something, you're in that. I think that, one of the things I really notice when I talk to entrepreneurs especially, and even some leaders in corporate, is just this whole knowing your numbers, but not just knowing what that end number is. So you really talk about knowing your numbers and how liberating that is. Can you explain what you mean by this and
Mhm.
really help our listeners wrap their heads around why this is a really important journey to go on?
Yeah. So I think of like we work with product-based business owners, service-based business owners, like the whole works, right? So
Mhm,
Um, if this particular example is a different business, like just imagine yourself maybe in it, how it fits you. But the idea is for somebody who owns a store, if
mhm,
I told them know their numbers, they're probably thinking, well, I need to know how much dollars of revenue I need to do. I don't know, like I'm just gonna pick something out of the hat because I don't actually know what that is. Like, I don't
mhm,
know, so and so next to me is doing this much. I'm gonna choose this.
mm,
They might say, like, okay, I know my rent is this much. Oh, I'm paying my team member X dollars an hour. And those are very like very simple numbers in business. But when we talk about knowing your numbers and when somebody is like know your numbers, to me it's about how much in total are you spending every month just opening the doors? How many dollars does that now knowing that number, what do you need to sell every month? How much does that work out to on a daily basis, right? If you're selling clothing, your product margins are pretty typically set. So you're like, "Okay, I know this. So like here's how many dollars I have to hit."
mm,
So then when you're starting to do a social post, you're like, "Okay, I have a target. I need to sell like if I'm going to post about this cardigan, I need to sell 3 of these. I'm
mhm,
putting my time and effort in." And you can start thinking about things in like units of like return on investment. If I'm going to do this activity, is it getting me the results that I want?
mhm,
Because I know that to run this business profitably and to pay this team member what I want to pay them, here's what I have to do. So knowing numbers, instead of it being about me asking you and you saying, I bring in X dollars of revenue, it's actually about knowing actions
mm,
and the intended results in your business.
mhm,
And so that you can take lag numbers. So accounting is typically a lag number. It's like after the fact, we're going to give you a report on what you did, but you actually want to then be able to work those backwards to lead numbers. What do I need to do? What kind of results? Like if I know the results I need to get, what do I have to do to get those results?
mm.
So you want to be looking at
So
lead
powerful.
numbers. Yeah. And a good example of this is I had somebody reach out early in the year. They're like, man, I've been really been resisting setting, targets for the year and everybody's saying set goals. And I've been so resistant on this. Like, so and so said I should set this 10K goal and I don't feel aligned with it. I'm not there. And I was like, "I actually just think you should set like, how do your customers come in?" And they told me, "This is how most of the people, get introduced to me, and this is who I've worked with." And I was like, "Are those aligned?" "Yeah." Like, "Okay, well, how do you most often find them?" Like, how do you need to be introduced to those people? How do you need to be in front of them? Like, instead of setting a goal, like, "I wanna make 10K a month," is, like, such an arbitrary number, and you're like, "Great, what does that mean?"
Mm,
Now we're setting a goal of, "I actually want to send, you know, 3 DMs and requests from my friends introductions to 2 other people this month," right?
mm,
And connect with people or send connections to people who I've already spoke with and start expanding my network because these are the people who would typically buy from me, and I wanna get in front of them and create relationships with them. And so that was more a number for me. I'm like, "Okay, we wanna get to 10 grand, but, like, what does that mean you need to do today?"
mhm. Yeah, I really look at I think that whole goal setting has absolutely created a little bit of a backwards. When you hear that inspired action, like that is when you know the inspired actions you need to take, then you can be looking at what those outcomes really are going to be. But that's foreign, I think, because we've been so sort of traditionally spoken to about set the goal, set the goal, set the goal. It's that final outcome, it's that final number. So I love that you peel that back for people. I think too is there's so I could only imagine the conversations you have because there's so many beliefs and fears around money. And then you get into this business for a passion or something that you just know is like a really beautiful idea, and then we've got all these fears and beliefs that are underneath. So, how do you help or do like, is that something that you support in the conversation? And what are you noticing maybe even right now about the beliefs and fears around the money conversations?
Yeah. So we definitely are having those conversations when we're meeting with business owners because it's inherent to the work that we do. If we want different results, we have to think a little differently.
Mhm.
And a lot of the time, what I notice is it's just that somebody hasn't seen it a different way.
Mm,
I literally was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and they were working with someone who was like telling them that they needed to like invest quite a bit of money in this area of their business. And they were like, "I don't know, they're saying that I have this block." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, like, we can put labels on it, and I believe in blocks and, like, limiting beliefs and everything as well, but I feel like a little bit maybe less tethered to them, where I'm like,
mm,
I don't want to, like, create this very strict thing of, like, well, this is a limiting belief and I have to solve it." Like,
mm,
the limiting belief gets solved through different action, right? Seeing what's possible. I'm like, "Right, you've just not seen anybody do this." So you can just simply start by saying, "Well, what if I did do this?" Or put yourself in rooms like, uh, I very early on heard about people like going to the Ritz-Carlton and having, lunch in the cafe. And it's just like, just being around something else that's possible for you,
mhm,
it you start expanding and then you meet somebody and they have a conversation and you're like, "Oh, I didn't think of it this way." And so instead of maybe putting so much pressure on like healing a limiting belief,
mm.
and especially, like, healing with sometimes we, like, go to a therapist or somebody who's like, "Well, they haven't experienced that either, so how are they gonna help you heal it?" Yeah, so I'm like, "So I'm not sure how, like, they're gonna help you past this." It's like, find the people and put yourself in the rooms that
Mhm,
and surround yourself with what you want to see next. And
mhm,
I think it's like literally our brains are made to understand what we see,
mm.
and it is harder for us to envision something that we have not seen, right?
Mhm.
Like even
Well, it
art. I
helps
don't know about
expand, like you use the word expand, and when we put ourselves in it, we actually start to expand our safety in that area, which expands our capacity for it, which
yeah.
is so powerful.
And I mean, there's still work to be done too, right? Understanding, like, I think there's a lot of, clarity that comes from understanding if you're like, "Oh, I made these decisions because this is what I dealt with growing up." But I
Mhm,
think even just that, it's like you've peeled back a layer and there's often so many layers to it. So when people tell me they wanna do work on, like, some of these beliefs and blocks and things like that, I'm like, I think that's great. And the way that I approach it is, I'm like, how can you find sources of working on that that it's no different than, like, we evolve so much over time. It's like it's going to be an evolution.
Mm,
So, I'm like, how do you do a little bit each day? Because 'Cause you're actually rewiring things like your own habits, your
mhm,
own values, and I think a lot of those take time, and once you get one in place, then you're like, "Oh, I may wanna change this too," and it's just like it's this constant evolution, so, like, how do you invest in the right way that you are gonna respect the fact that you're gonna continue to evolve?
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's masterful because I think we can spend way too much time in the thinking of it
Mhm.
instead of getting into some sort of movement, which teaches our body, right? Which we take action, we try something new, we talk to someone different. I love your get in rooms where you haven't been before. Those are some like really great action steps. I feel to go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, can I also add, like, sometimes I think we put too much pressure on, like, somebody teaching us a different way. So
Mm,
sometimes we'll be like, well, I need to learn from them because they're gonna teach me this. And it's actually like more so the people who walk beside you who are just
mm,
maybe a little bit further that it's like you're not putting that pressure on, like, well, I need to learn from them, but you're like, oh, I heard a little bit at lunch about something that they're doing that's further ahead than me that I'm like,
mhm,
oh, I could take from that. And it's like almost we learn I find that we learn more from the less formal relationships than sometimes the more formal. So it's like, how do you put yourself in multiple situations?
mhm.
1, learning from somebody directly. 2, walking beside other people on a similar journey, but they're further ahead in some areas and you're further ahead in others, right? Like,
Mhm.
how do we put ourselves in multiple places to expand?
It reminds me of, you and I were both at an event not long ago, the High Vibe Women's event, and the one woman on stage was talking about the what did she call it? The quad pod?
Oh, yeah.
Pod, and it was 4 women who had similar lines of business, but some were expanded in some ways and others in other ways, and they just got together and spoke about the uniqueness, or if they had a challenge come up, they would get together, so it wasn't a formal kind of mastermind, or they hadn't gone out and hired someone to support them in those ways, they just got together and expanded each other. It kinda reminded me of that when you said that, which I think is so powerful.
But I think also, like, that individual also learns formally from other people, so it's like knowing what you're gonna get from all the areas, and
Yes.
again, just going back to, like, this is an evolution, this isn't like I
Mhm,
pick up a book, I read one thing, I now know it and will implement it for the rest of my life. It's like there's always gonna be layers to it, and it's more about, like, continuing to build on certain habits and, things that you do each day that get you there, so, yeah,
mhm.
I just think, like just don't worry about being dynamic. I think you're gonna get lessons from lots of areas.
It's multifaceted.
Mhm.
It's multifaceted for sure. I do love your connection to helping provide that financial clarity. Do you have an example where either yourself or someone you've worked with, where you really have been able to navigate that financial clarity that helps them then look at their business differently, be connected to their business differently, make different choices. What does that look like? Because I think we have some listeners that's like, "I don't even know what that looks like."
Mhm.
Mm,
I have a couple examples for you. One of them, a client, she's, like a solo service provider, so she's providing services, but every year her tax bills were a very much a surprise for her. She had a lot of financial goals,
mm,
personal financial goals, but she was always feeling like she was behind, and so one of the things we were able to do with her is set a strategy for 6 months, and at the end of 6 months, she is always on top of taxes, like, every single month, the tax number that she needs set aside is in the right place.
mm,
She now is investing in RSPs, so she's feeling really good that she's set up for retirement, and also, she really likes to travel, so she, has a travel fund, and instead of putting the travel on her credit card and then having to pay it back, she has it prepaid in advance,
mm,
and so, like, for her, that was this, like it sounds like a simple business setup, but the other side of that was just, like, she's having so much fun, there's so much growth, and now new because she got that out of the way, now there's all these new opportunities. Um, Another one was there was a product-based business owner just, like, not getting she's like, "I'm working constantly, I just have no idea, like, why I can't I've got, a pretty good following, like, it's just not working for me." And we were able to come back to some of the numbers to be like, "Well, what are things costing you? How much time do these take to make?" And so the other side of that was like, "Oh, like, these actual products, like, those aren't profitable." Like, just because what customers would have been willing to pay for them didn't match how much it actually cost her. But when she was looking at it all together, it was like things were hiding, right? So we had to kind of break it down further. Service providers are like we work with a number of marketing agencies. They're looking at it and they're like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like there's enough left in the bank account at the end of every month. Like, what's going on? And there can be a lot of complexities, like, you might be getting paid in advance and not know when you have to spend that cash. A lot of, those agencies aren't sure how much they're making per client because they're maybe not tracking the inputs, like, they make a quote based on what they think they're gonna do, but they don't know how much time it's actually taking them to deliver on it or what
Mhm.
the capacity is, how many clients should one of my team members be able to handle? And so a lot of those are coming back to the numbers and saying like, where do we go with this? And then we see like a lot of strategic shifts in the business, whether it's with like team or product offerings. And on the other side, they're like, wow, like now we have some profit and everybody's happy. I think that's the part where I say like non-negotiable, you must love the business
Mhm.
is like on the other side of it where business owners are like, "Oh, I don't know where the profit is, but I also am, like, scared to look at these numbers." On the
Mhm.
other side, they're like, "Holy smokes," like, the team is happy. The team feels supported because they know what they're doing. Like,
Mhm.
before, it's like, it's not their fault if they're overgiving, but they feel really good, and the owner is like, "Man, like, now I know where the next paycheck is. Like, I feel good in my body. I feel like going to work isn't a panic every day," right? And
Mhm.
there's just so many positive changes that come from having that clarity when it's like we can start with the problem and then work it backwards, and there's always something in the numbers that points us to the right direction to say, "This is what we need to look at it. This system here isn't working," or "This product offering isn't aligning," and then we at least know where to start and go, "Okay, how do we fix this?"
Mhm. Those are powerful stories, and I think service-based can be so difficult because there's so many sort of quote unquote hidden costs are not hidden, but they appear to be hidden, and then it's that trap of just looking at what's coming in versus the cost of each one of those conversions can be really dangerous. So, I love that you're doing that work because again, this is different. And everyone listening knows that this is not how normal accountants work with their clients, and it's so necessary. Just thinking about like, I've always thought if entrepreneurs are fulfilled, happy, thriving, think about the impact on their families, their communities. Like they have such a massive impact, but if they're so wrought with fear and concern and lack of knowledge, that has the opposite impact. So I just when I met you and heard what you were doing, I just think it's so impactful. And you're a mom and you're an entrepreneur and you're a CEO. So how has that for you in your life even had more impact on how you approach the business?
Yeah, holy smokes. There's so many layers to that.
Yeah.
I remember early on in business that there was a time where I was like, if I could just be more productive and if I could just do more in a day.
Mhm.
And I had taken a program with a coach and I'm like, okay, how do I get this streamlined? And all I found out was that like I've literally streamlined it as much as I could. And it wasn't about me doing more. And so I think
Mhm.
that there's just been like so many changes is like employing help. Stop thinking I need to do it all by myself. I actually
Mhm.
accomplish more when I don't. My girls have forced like because of how I wanted to be a parent to my girls, then I've forced myself to work less. And this goes back to maybe one of your early questions. And it's just like, well, we didn't know that was possible. Like, I never challenged myself that way before.
Mm,
Like, early in business, I was just like, how do I do 7 more tax returns today? Like, how can I do this faster? Instead of saying to myself, like, I want to accomplish these, just like a broader picture. Like, I want to accomplish all this. How do I do it? Oh, I want to bring in team because my non-negotiable is that I don't work evenings and weekends.
mm,
And then it's like, well, what do I have to do to achieve that then?
mhm.
And sometimes that's like we actually do need to grow the business a little bit to afford help, strategic help, right? And like I got to ask myself those questions, but my husband now is a business owner and so like there's just been so many dynamics like over the
Tell us
years.
about his business because I saw that. Let's
Yeah.
do a little plug for him.
Yeah, so he purchased into a franchise of a door repair and replacement company, and it has been an incredible experience for him. What I would say is that a franchise, it's like if you buy into a good franchise, they've done a lot of really great like branding and work and
Mhm,
provide support. And usually they formalize things that like when we go into business ourselves as individuals, we really take 3 to 4 years to stumble through because franchise owners, the people who own the franchise, they're like, hey, here are some targets you have to hit and things like that. Like they're almost accelerating your learning. And I also have to give them like the biggest kudos because as somebody who's been in business for over a decade and like just I'm really passionate about business, I really pushed them in areas. So I had a good laugh because I'm like every business owner, the first thing they want to do is buy swag. They're like, let's get a
right.
logo and buy swag. And so there was, like, so many nights at the start where he wanted to do some things, but, like, we just weren't at that part of the process yet with the
Mhm.
franchise, and he's, like, looking at swag, and I'm like, "No to the swag." Like, "No, honey, we're not buying swag," over and over again, but, he has learned and done things that I'm like, I have to give him credit for because I didn't do that early on. Like, for example, one of the biggest things you need early in business is visibility. You
Mhm,
just need eyeballs on your business. And so a lot of us were spending time on swag and the website and like
mhm.
formalizing processes and things like that. And like that's not actually what you need to test that your business is successful. Well, this guy, like out of his comfort zone, is like knocking on strangers' doors. Like he really got out there because I
Mhm.
pushed him to do that. So he got those lessons from me, but I have to give him so much credit because that is like out of your comfort zone.
For sure. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing, and he's had the opportunity to watch you, right?
Yes.
To be a part of seeing where it's worked, where it hasn't, where you've grown, where you've flourished, so, just by natural him being around you, it will help him in so many ways. It's I love how you talk about team, really about that building that empowered team around you. I think as an entrepreneur, it's been one of my, like, cycles up and down of having the right team, not having the right team, learning what I need to learn about myself. And so, I think just even the companies you work with that have the opportunity to experience it, then you have the influence. But what inside of you, like, where was that lesson for you of, if I build the empowered team, that will be so impactful? And what have you learned from it?
Yeah. So we had a few events personally in business, and I hear business owners often will say like, "Oh, nobody on the team will work as hard as I do," or
Mm,
I'm the first to arrive and the last to leave," and they sort of wear it like a badge of honor, and I can agree with that. Like, you're the owner, like you actually have the most to benefit from the business, so
mhm,
um, probably you're going to be the most invested. But that statement really hit
mm,
me, and, like, it kinda made me sad, and then a couple of things happened. My dad, I've talked about this often, but my dad had cancer. He ended up, going for surgery and on life support for an entire week in the middle of tax season, and I was 4 months pregnant, and I was working from a surgical ICU, out of province because it was tax season, and I needed to be there for my family, and also I need like, it was like, "What is this?"
right.
And so I was like, "I can't do this by myself any longer." And
Mm,
on the other side of it, I'm like, "Holy smokes, like, this is what people are missing." When you really empower your team and the people that you're working with, whether they're a subcontractor, whether they're, part-time, full-time, it doesn't matter. Those people who are supporting you, when you provide them what they need to be successful, they really fill a role in your business. And when you really give them the role, right? Instead of
mhm,
holding it, um, I think it's like Seth Godin who talks about like the genius with 1,000 helpers. And I'm like, I am allergic to that. Like, I've been there and I never want to be the person with all the answers again. Well, it feeds like an ego part of feeling important for a period of time. All of a sudden, it becomes very draining. And I would say like that's where most of my burnout ever came from as an
mhm,
entrepreneur. But on the other side, I'm like, man, this is what people are missing.
mhm,
Like, they actually don't have to work as hard, like, we
mhm,
are almost, like, dialed in, the thermostat is set to, like, struggle, and we gotta work so hard as entrepreneurs, and when you challenge yourself to be like, "How can this be easy?" and you start taking those steps, you realize it can happen, but that doesn't go without work because I don't feel like we're as society, we're not tuned to that,
mm-mm,
right? And it's a little bit uncomfortable for myself and some of my friends who did it after me, we talked a lot about how it was like you kind of had to go through this ego thing where you're like,
mhm,
I'm not even important in the business anymore. Like it
mhm,
can run without me. Like, what is this?
mhm.
Like,
Well,
do I
I
even
think the navigating the whole receiving as well,
Mm,
especially for women, is twofold. The ego part of I need to be the most important part of the business, whereas really if you can lead and empower, you're building that all around you. That is where the magic happens. For me, it was about being able to receive it.
yeah,
There was something in that thermostat of, like, if I'm struggling more, then I'm more valuable,
yep.
versus if I'm receiving, I actually then have the energy to be able to provide for people in such beautiful ways. And I had to navigate that one.
It's like we're taught not to take, though. I don't know about you, I've been
Oh, yeah.
unraveling this more and more. It was like, don't get in anybody's way, like, don't
Mhm,
take from anybody,
mhm,
and so it felt like if I was receiving more, then it meant somebody was worse off, and I really had to work on reframing that.
mhm,
But those are the types of conversations where it's like, I found that I can work with somebody like a service provider or like a coach or something, and I can hear a lesson from them, but I almost also need to see that from my peers of them being like, "Here was
mhm,
my experience and this worked well for me." And then I'm like,
mhm,
it's like it helps it sink in a little bit different, right?
mhm. I agree with that, for sure. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so many golden nuggets here. I would love to know what one piece of traditional accounting advice that people give that maybe you don't really fully align with.
I mean, there's so many, but the one that's come up like multiple times this week is just that like bookkeeping has to be hard.
Mm,
And
mm.
a great example of this is, all these people who are filing their sole proprietor taxes at the time that we're recording this, and they're like
Yes.
typing things line by line, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's like I do this at the end of the year, and it like takes me 2 days." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like download this report from your bank, sort this way, and like hand this in." Like, the accountants, one person was like, "My accountant told me they could do this, but it was going to be expensive." And I was like, "I don't think it has to be expensive. I don't think
Mhm.
it has to be painful."
Okay, everybody listening just like threw their brakes on if they're in their car because absolutely we have been taught that that's difficult. For sure. So thank you for demystifying that one for us. I'd love to know what one question is you wish people would ask you that they don't.
Oh my gosh. I wish that I guess I'm not sure about the question and how they would frame it, but I wish that they knew more about the levers of profit and business. I
Mm,
talk a lot about like there's 3 levers that you can pull, and I imagine sometimes like our actions throughout the day of us like pulling levers up and down,
mhm,
and our actions drive into these like 3 pots: revenue, cost of sales, and then like operational costs. And things the decisions that we're making fall in one of those 3 pots, and then when you make a decision in one area, it affects the other,
Mm,
and I wish that they knew that. And then the other huge shift that I'm like, I wish more people would ask me about is return on investment because they think I'm just talking dollars and cents, but when I can help people understand what we mean about return on investment, whether it's like time or energy or money,
mm,
that is like they get so intentional about how they make decisions
mm,
and it gets good.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you once you have that conversation, does it open up? Is it just about creating the awareness that it's more than just money?
I think that they understand, but it's like so vague to them. And so now when they can start actually utilizing like a framework for making a decision,
Mhm.
it's not about getting stuck in, like, analysis paralysis, it's actually I'm a really big fan of quick decisions, if you know me, people around me are like, "You think way too fast." Um, so it's not about analysis paralysis, but it is about being intentional, and so when you look at what is the return on this, how is this going to affect and it positively affect me, and just, like, kinda challenge it a little bit, I think that is what changes for people, that they're not thinking it all through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, I love that. What is one thing that you would suggest every business owner does this week? When they hear you, what is one thing that you would love to ignite in them?
I would love for you to do your bookkeeping or
Mhm.
have somebody help you with your bookkeeping because a good bookkeeping is the foundation of all of the understanding that we talk about and understanding those numbers. There's lots of models like Profit First that I'm like, man, the amount of time and energy you put into that, doing that thing, you could just have the bookkeeping done. And
Mm,
like the bookkeeping then files your taxes and does all these other things, comparative reports. Profit First doesn't do that for you. So I'm like, if you could just do your bookkeeping, you can have start having an understanding. And if you don't know how, then there are lower cost solutions to getting this done. Or we give clients advice all the time on how to do their own bookkeeping. Like,
mm,
here's a system. Um, and I have to tell you the other one is you have to know how much you're setting aside for taxes. The number of people that come to us that are behind on taxes and the effect that that's having on their relationships with their spouse,
yeah.
how they show up for their kids, whether they feel like they can take a vacation, um, the like franticness in their business, like it is massive. And like, if you think of, like, what a tax bill is, how much did you pay? And, like, when you were an employee, you looked at the tax on your T4 and you're like, "I paid what?"
You went,
Yeah, it's massive. Well, most of the time, that's, like, what you would finance for a car, and if we put that into perspective, most cars, like, we finance a car payment over 5 years. So if you make that 1-year mistake by not saving for taxes, you could be paying for it for 5 years. So it's like, get a handle on that. So
Mm,
do the bookkeeping so you've got the foundation and you know what to expect, and then let's not get behind so we don't have to feel like we're catching up.
yeah.
Get a plan in place so you can get ahead.
That is huge advice because I can go back 18 years ago when I started my own business and I came from corporate and they just took the taxes off and I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm really good like with numbers and I love all that stuff. Um and I got myself into a little bit of a tax pickle in that first year and went, "Oh my gosh, of course. How did I not think about this, not know this?" Not go get good advice on this. And so I'm with Stacy. That is anyone listening who hasn't done that, or you're thinking of starting a business. Both of my kids are independent contractors. And I sat down with them and I said, this is the most important thing is that you start an account and you just put money in that immediately for all of those things for peace of mind. All of it is peace of mind in the end, right?
Well, and it's, like, a little bit hard, it's, like, a shift in mindset because when
It
you
is.
see the number going in, you're like, "Do I really need to save all of this?"
Right?
But it was just kinda coming out before,
Yes.
and yeah, and it really is, like, you're leaving corporate and you're like, "Oh, I've got this freedom," and then all of a sudden you got this money in your bank account and you're like, wow, I can live the good life. Like, the number of people that I see start business year 1 and have some success, and then they're like, "I live the good life," and then it comes
Mhm.
crashing down with taxes. I'm like, "Let's live the good life and not have the crash."
Exactly.
Yeah,
We can do both.
we can, yeah, with just a little
That's
bit of
amazing.
knowledge.
And
Yeah.
do you work with people all over Canada?
Yeah, we work coast
Yes.
to coast. Anybody from an independent contractor, solo service provider, product-based businesses, right through, I think one of our larger clients does about 10 million a year, and then at that point, they sort of start needing somebody internally in their business.
Yes.
But yeah, we've got all kind of shapes, sizes, industries that we work with.
Well, this was an incredible conversation, Stacy. So inspired by the work that you do, and, I love how you work with your clients. It's so different, it's so necessary. This it when you have this part of your business aligned, everything feels aligned. And so thank you for creating such a magical way of working with numbers and working with your clients. And it's beautiful. All over Canada, we'll put how you can reach out to Stacy in the show notes. And is there any last thoughts from you that you want to share?
No, I wanna say thank you, Lori, for asking the questions and, creating a platform for people to kind of expand their beliefs and expand what's possible.
Beautiful. Thank you for being here. Stacy just dropped a masterclass in what it really means to thrive in business, from the numbers to the narrative, the spreadsheets to the soul. If you're ready to stop avoiding your finances and start using them as a portal to alignment, impact, and personal freedom, go follow Stacy immediately. You can find her on Instagram at stacy.millard and learn more about her work at thriveaccounting.co. And remember, your business is meant to build a life you love, not rob you from it. Financial clarity isn't just practical, it's powerful, it's expansive, and it's yours to claim. Until next time, stay ambitious, awakened, and aligned.